Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Moto. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a Fender Eliminator on my 2022 XR650L. So guys, I don't even think I've had this bike for 24 hours yet, but that being said, one of the first things I wanted to do on this motorcycle is remove all that ugly plastic in the rear of the bike. Manufacturers put that on because it has to meet certain requirements for safety, but once it is in the user's hand or the owner's hand, you can kind of do whatever you want to it as long as you're within your local laws and guidelines. That being said, I picked up a UFO Plastics XR650R Fender, and it comes with the very flush light, so I'm hoping that will clean up the back of this bike and make it look a little bit better. And real quick, here is the piece of plastic. As you can see, it looks much cleaner. UFO Plastics. I will leave a link down below to this product, and I'll also leave a link down below to the light itself, because you can just purchase the light and put it on your original piece of plastic. I believe it's by WPS, but you usually can get them on Amazon for around 15 or 20 bucks. So I haven't really seen too many videos online about how to install this piece of plastic, so I'm gonna take my time, make sure I do it right, and hopefully it'll come out good. So the first step in this process is go ahead, open up your tool bag here, and there's going to be a couple of bolts on the inside, and we're going to go ahead and remove those first. And make sure you don't lose the hardware, because you can put this back on later, and I believe it will even fit the UFO piece as well. Alright, with the 3 bolts removed, this will just pop right off. Now I'm going to remove the side panel. Alright, now I'm going to be removing the blinkers. And since we need to remove the seat, go ahead and remove your seat strap with the Allen key bolt on either side of the bike. Now remove the 2 seat bolts on either side of the bike. This is going to be a 12mm socket. So with those 2 bolts removed, the seat will pop right off. Taking a look at the top of the fairing, we're going to need to remove these 2 10mm bolts. Now take a second and remove the wiring from these plastic clips. And the last thing that's holding on your fairing should be these 2 bolts right here. So now just go ahead and wiggle this part off just a little bit. It's going to remove itself from the rear here, and just kind of pull it because there are these grommets holding it on, just like that, and we'll get this out of the way. Now take your fairing and it will pop off. The only thing is these grommets are still going to be holding it on, so you're just going to need to pull these grommets and kind of feed them through their holes. And lastly, taking the fairing and pull it backwards. Be careful for these wires here. You don't want to pinch any wires. Help feed them through and continue to pull backwards until the fairing is removed. So looking at the new Fender, as you can tell, it's going to be super sleek, and I think it's going to look really good. A couple things you want to pay attention to with the old one. As you can see, there's still some metal grommets here, as well as on the inside. So let's tap those out with like a flathead screwdriver or something, and we're going to install them onto the new piece. Alright, so with all the grommets back on, you can now go ahead and reinsert this onto the bike, feeding it through the same way you took the old one off. Just kind of wiggle it over the wires. Once again, make sure you don't pinch anything. Alright, so taking a look at the old wiring harness, as you can see, there are 3 wires coming off of it. Hopefully you guys can see. It might be a little hard, but if you take a look at the wire that's given with the UFO Plastics here, it also has 3 wires. One should be the ground, one should be power, and then one should be power for when the brake light is actuated. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this over here, and then basically just connect it right up to the light. So with this cut, I'm going to basically just feed this through the hole here, and I want all my connections to be done right under the seat, or really on the side panel here, so you don't see anything up top. And it should look nice, and it should look pretty clean. So I'm going to feed the new wire through the same hole, and leave a little bit of slack so you can fasten the wire down to the fender. So I just went ahead and cut a little bit of this protective wire that's around the 3 wires on both sides. This way it'll be a little bit easier to splice these and then connect them together. Alright guys, so this is what the wiring should look like when you are done. You should have from the bike brown to white, you should have from the bike green and yellow to green and white. And then from the bike, once again, green to brown. And it should be able to, once everything's all set, you double check and you should be able to see your brake light, your running brake light. And then once you click the actual brake, it should light up. So just make sure before you tidy this all up and put it away, you double check all that and it should be good to go. All right, and so with the wiring squared away, now your next step is to reinstall your fender. Once again, just using all the OEM equipment, and make sure obviously you reinstall your blinkers as well. All right guys, so here is the final product with everything put back together. A couple things to keep in mind when putting it back together. I ran the blinker wires a little off to the side here, and I just put some zip ties on either side. Taking a look at this side as well, as you can see, I just threw on some zip ties to hold them on. Another issue I ran into with this aftermarket fairing, the holes for the tool bag did not line up. Actually, these two lined up, the two in the front, but the one in the rear I had to drill out on the plastic just about ½ an inch, not even, just to allow the bolt to line up. But obviously with the bag on, there's no way you'd be able to notice that. Other than that, it went on pretty smooth, no complaints. The fit and finish is excellent. I did end up making a little bracket here for a license plate. I actually picked this up off Amazon, and as you can see, I cut it, but once you put the license plate on, it will cover that up and it'll look good. So let me turn on the light for you guys so you can see what it looks like, and I'll be right back. So there is your running brake light, and then here it is with the brake actuated. So as you can tell, it's pretty bright, no complaints there. And just go ahead, obviously double check to make sure your blinkers and everything work properly. But I'm pretty happy with how this came out. So I think this came out pretty good. It looks a lot better than the stock, and you even lose about a pound or two with all the excess plastic that you remove. Now, if you don't feel like taking apart everything like I did, like I said, there is the option to just buy the light itself. It's going to look a little bit different than this light. I believe it'll have a black plastic rim around the bottom of it. And I also believe it's by WPS, and you can find them on Amazon or ProCycle. I'll leave a link to this piece as well as just the light, so you can take a look for yourselves and see which one you like better. But if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, make sure to leave it in the comment section down below. It's a pretty simple install. You just got to make sure you tighten everything back up, and you should be ready to rock and roll. As always, thank you so much for watching, and ride safe.